Um, a federal judge on Tuesday had rejected the former squatter Donald Trump's attempt to block the release of the White House Capitol of the White House documents to the House committee that was investigating the January 6th riot. Now, the Klan riot, basically. D.C. District Court Judge Tanya Chutkan ruled that Trump had no authority to block the National Archives from turning over the records after President Biden declined to assert the executive privilege over the documents. Trump does not acknowledge the deference that's owed to the incumbent squatter's judgment. His position that he may override the express will of the executive branch appears to be premised on the notion that his executive power exists in perpetuality. And Chutkan wrote in a 39-page opinion that that presidents or squatter are not kings, and the plaintiff is not a squatter anymore. And Chutkan added that the executive privilege exists for the benefit of the republic and not one individual. The National Archives is expected to turn over the documents to the January 6th committee on Friday, unless a court steps in. Trump's attorneys immediately filed an appeal to the D.C. Appeals Court, where he may draw a more favorable three-judge panel that includes two of his appointees. The case could well reach the Supreme Court, which would delay the release even further. Representative Benny Thompson, who's a Democrat from Mississippi, chair of the January 6th Special Committee, had called Trump's lawsuit little more than an attempt to delay and obstruct our investigation. Along our country's history, the executive branch has provided Congress with testimony and information when it has been in the public interest. Thompson said in a statement this evening, ruling is consistent with that tradition, and in my fucking view, there couldn't be a more compelling public interest than getting answers about an attack on our democracy. Thompson had said that the committee plans to inspect the documents with a fine-tooth comb to make sure that our government was not weaponized against its citizens. Back in August, the committee requested that the National Archives turn over White House records related to Trump's actions ahead of the January assault on the U.S. Capitol, including documents from his top aides, visitors, and call logs. Trump, who has demanded that former officials of administration do their utmost to stonewall the investigation, filed a lawsuit seeking to block the release, arguing that the Constitution allows former squatters to retain the right to exert the executive privilege. No, it doesn't. Trump's lawyers cited a Nixon-era Supreme Court ruling that the former squatter retained a residual interest in keeping White House records secret, but Chutkan, who was appointed by Obama, wrote that the argument did not hold water because the sitting squatter at the time did not weigh in on the matter while Biden agreed to allow the records to be turned over. This is a dispute between a former squatter and a current president, Chutkan had wrote, and the Supreme Court has already made it clear that in such circumstances the incumbent's view is accorded at a greater weight. Chutkan also rejected the Trump team's proposal for her to review every document to determine whether it should be turned over to the committee, writing that the court declines to intrude upon the executive function in this manner and it would not second-guess the Biden administration. But Trump's lawyers also argued that the request was overly broad and untethered from any legitimate legislative purpose. Chutkan, who also opened her opinion with several pages detailing Trump's unprecedented attempt to subvert the results of the election, wrote that Congress and the administration had contended that discovering and coming to terms with the case or with the causes underlying the January 6th attack is a matter of unsurpassed public importance because such information relates to our core democratic institutions and the public's confidence in them, and the court agrees. The case is a major test of presidential powers, and it could stretch well beyond Friday. Trump has made the same claim of the post-squatterall executive privilege to demand that former top aides, including the former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows and former Chief Strategist Steve Bannon, refuses to cooperate with the committee subpoena. But Bannon was the first person to defy the panel's subpoena, leading the House to file a criminal referral to the Justice Department for contempt of Congress. Former Justice Department official Jeffrey Clark, who pressured the department's leaders to help Trump's efforts to overturn the election, cited Trump's executive privilege, claiming that during his scheduled interview last Friday, and he refused to testify. Instead, his lawyer, who also worked on a lawsuit seeking to overturn the election results in Georgia, had submitted a 12-page letter defending Clark's refusal to speak to the committee pending Trump's lawsuits. Thompson told CNN on Tuesday that he expects the committee to refer Clark to the DOJ, and we're pursuing the criminal contempt proceedings on Bannon, and we will probably do that on Clark, he said, and anybody else who refuses to come before the committee. So if you like the video, give the video a like and subscribe to my channel, RBW King, and also hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified when a new video comes out. And thanks for listening.